Hello, welcome back to the library. Let's jump in. Namco is no stranger to arcade games, and today's discussion focuses on their earlier longbox home conversion, Starblade Alpha. Based on the original Starblade, it throws the first one on the disc, but then also offers what is essentially its own remaster right on the platter as well, on day one. Players can choose between the original, flat shaded texture enemies, or swap in textures. If you've never played the original arcade machine, we did lose something in the conversion. Specifically, its surroundings. Namco's 900-pound baby was a sit-down model, with a cockpit and badass panel arts all around. The control was essentially a light gun, practically the Wii remote of its time, only you used it like a flight yoke to aim your on-screen cursor. The display used a curved mirror to provide a simple trick of depth, and if you took damage from an enemy, the entire seat vibrated to simulate the impact. It was a hoot to experience, and the flat shade polygons and super high resolution really made it look incredible for its time. Starblade's quarter crunching life was met with high praise and sales, so a home conversion to consoles would be a sure bet. Leading the American pack was the Sega CD version, which needed a few tweaks to survive the hardware. The enemies were switched to wireframes, and the full motion video like backgrounds were reduced to solid colors and checkerboard patterns to keep things moving fast. A few sections aside, the port was shockingly good for what it was, and is still super playable to this day. But there's a particular detail that I never realized until I had played this version. More on that later. After Sega CD, Namco ported it to the 3DO, which formed the basis for the PlayStation version. So let's just skip that and go right to my favorite gray box. In the year of X, the Milky Way Galactic Federation watches in horror as a massive mechanical planet, sadly not Unicron, arrives near their system, with the planet known only as Red Eye. It apparently was sent by a previous planet known as the Empire. Still not Unicron, but maybe? So a whole bunch of freedom-loving peeps create Operation Starblade, which is populated by 5 Geosword fighter spaceships. You, my trusty space gunner, must plant your sweet patootie into the gunner's seat. From your vantage point, you will use the ship's twin laser beam cannons to obliterate anything in your path, no matter the size. And that's the entire plot. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get out to the space pew-pews. Starblade Alpha controls are super simple. You use the directional pad to move the cursor and any of the 4 face buttons to fire. The 4 shoulder buttons act as speed modifiers. If you hold down 1, you're a bit faster, and if you hold 2, faster than that. The Geosort fleet is attacked before it can get on with the mission, so right out of the launch gate, quite literally, you're plunged into the war with no going back. Hundreds of smaller class fighters and bombers zip across the screen in every direction as you desperately try to maneuver away from the flagships. Sneaking in to survey the carnage is the commander ship, looking menacing with its giant wings and personal armada. Don't get too attached though, as they'll leave you to your death just before you're able to warp after them and closer to Red Eye. Coming out of warp lands you in the middle of an asteroid field, rife with floating mines and a hail of enemy missiles. As your pilot makes their way out of the rocky battlegrounds, the first of the enemy fleets is met. As you weave in and out of the heavies, you'll need to also weave in and out of the construction yards. Once past this, it's straight suicidal dive down into Red Eye's trenches and cityscape. Buildings and rock formations infused with laser turrets mercilessly sending out flak in every direction. Red Eye's core, known as Octopus, is close by and will have to fly into that to dismantle it. After escaping with our lives, the one-way route slams us into the surviving enemy fleet, which brought their massive flagship with them. Once more, after surviving wave after wave, the journey takes us straight into that flagship's core, just now with slightly different power rods. Once that's left smoldering, it's a mad dash outside to finally stare down the commander's ship, fend off and shoot down his unholy barrage of missiles and bullets to finally see him explode and fade away into the blackness of space. And roll credits. And that's it. Starblade is 20 minutes of cursor-based shooting, and if I can be brutally honest, it works. There are subtle details that just make it work so well. The FMV is perfectly fine when playing on the TV it was intended for. The voiceover work, while borderline cheesy, fits extremely well, especially with the pilot correctly filling you in as you fly in and around the Armadas. Something that did catch me off guard though, and I never really noticed it till playing the Sega Steve version, is the lack of a soundtrack. Like, it's there for the eye catcher and the credits and the opening launch sequence, but actually in game, there's no soundtrack. There are so many explosions, laser blasts, and spoken words that you really don't notice until the transition between stages. And like the rest of the game, it works. If you can play the game on a CRT with headphones, do it. It's the only way to understand how cool it is to be music free. Aside from the two programmer's cheats for free play and rapid fire, that's everything there is to see with Starblade. I feel like this was a great segue from Arthur Ray to Race because they share similar problems in their original review time frame. With Arthur, it was the intended audience. With Starblade, it felt like they missed the whole point of this arcade game. Most of the same criticisms were its short playtime, the same as it was in the arcade, and the lack of any extras, aside from the re-rendering of the whole game. That last part looks like it ate up most of the compact disc's available space. Further still, in Japan, Namco had published a Laserdisc with the arcade game's full playthrough, with enemy rosters and exclusive bonus music. I'm guessing they were looking for that to be a separate purchase of bonus goodies, which would have been lost when it wasn't brought over to the States. And that's where the review would have ended if it weren't for the game's dirty little secret. It's never mentioned in the manual, but you can plug the PlayStation's mouse into port 2 and use that as your cursor mover. Even wackier, this wasn't a fluke. Once the mouse is locked in, Controller 1's D-pad no longer functions. You can still use the shoulder button modifiers to ramp up the cursor though. The mouse completely changes the vibe by allowing the bowel. The mouse completely changes the vibe by allowing free movement rather than just the four cardinal directions. It essentially makes the game easier, but that's a good thing. The game was never about the challenge per se. It's gonna end after 20 minutes no matter what, whether you like it or not. It's about the points. And when you now have an easier way to make points, the addiction of the Quarter Crunch's origins comes shining through again. Oddly enough, the mouse essentially brings back the arcade's flight gun angle, just no yokes or big ass control box in front of you. Thanks to the game's short runtime, I think I played it like 7 or 8 times for this review. Twice with the controller across the original hardware and on the Polymega for recording, twice with the mouse on the original hardware, and one more to play with the programmer's cheats just to see if it made it any easier. On the review scale, it's a solid 7 out of 10. Starblade Alpha is one of those rare games where, if you allow yourself to get lost in the vibe, it is a perfect break time from the 100-hour role-playing games and tough-as-nails completion quests found elsewhere. Play with the mouse on original hardware on a CRT with headphones and try and break the million-point barrier. It's a really fun time. Now, at the time of this video's recording, Starblade Alpha is going for a hilarious amount of money. Unless you're aiming for a set or a long box set or even a shooting set, just play from the free angle. That money is better put towards the mortgage. I want to thank Chaos Sticks, for the idea, because in researching Starblade, something else for this review popped up, and I fell down a rabbit hole that spawned 2 other video ideas just from this one. And even funnier, one of the other games is 7 minutes long. But it has some of the craziest bonus options I've ever seen. More on that eventually. Have you played Starblade Alpha? Its original arcade mode? Do you have a favorite rail shooter? Like Sewer Shark? Let everyone know in the comments section. Let's get the conversation started. Be safe, subscribe, and I'm here when you need me. I'll see you next episode. Take care.